Okay, let's talk about the DM minus and the DM plus K-packs now. Just so that we understand, the DM minus is basically a K-pack that has all cutters. So these are all Boolean difference, and that's how they affect the actual object that we're applying them to. And of course, the DM plus are the same thing, except they're Boolean unions. So they're adding to the model. Okay, let's see how these work. I'll select this target object, and I'm going to add this difference modifier, and I'll add the insert here. And as I drag it around, you can see it snaps to whatever face we're on. And you can also see that we have some artifacting going on. So if I select this object and I just basically add a weighted normal modifier to it and just say keep sharp face influence, it's going to fix all that. And because in my preferences under my kit ops right here, in general, you'll notice I have sort modifiers, and this one right here is selected, and it's the weighted normal. There's also this one, which is the UV project. So these two are selected. I could add others like bevels and stuff like that, and that'll always keep that at the last. And I want to do that, because if I don't, I'm going to have some problems. One thing you may notice is that we started with this in the regular mode. We inserted it in regular mode. And that means that things like, we don't get things like mirroring. If I want to mirror this now, I need to actually go into the smart mode, and I need to select the object that's the target. So I'll click this little thing, say that's the target. Now I can mirror on the x-axis, and I'm in good shape. So you can see how that works. Now with this weighted normal set where it is, I'm going to go ahead now and go to the positives and add a union object. And I'll choose this one, and I'll say add insert, and I'm going to hit the F button to put it in the middle of the face, so it goes right there. Now notice that KitOps put this weighted normal at the bottom. I'm going to move it up like if it wasn't at the bottom. You'll see what happens is we get this weird artifacting. I typically go ahead and just wait until the very end before I add a weighted normal. I don't mind these little artifacts up until the very end, and then I'll go ahead, add the weighted normal, and we'll be good to go. So I've got two inserts here. One is the Boolean difference, and the other is a Boolean union, and they're both set to fast. And so this is critical that you understand the difference between fast and exact. There will be times when fast doesn't work right, and you can just go into the Design Magic Metashape product, and you can set the Booleans automatically to exact just by toggling them here. So just toggle them with this button, and they'll go back and forth. I like working in fast, and if I run into trouble, then I'll move them to exact. Okay, let's take a look at these modifiers. They kind of look the same, but they're just inverted in a way. But in fact, that's really not the case. I'm going to go and show you why. This particular one is a union modifier, and it only has one control. And it works like this. And the whole idea behind this modifier is that it wants to look like it's swooping up from the surface, as you can tell here. Whereas this modifier over here is a modifier that you just want to have some kind of chamfer along the side of that thing. You know, notice that that's what we have here. Is we're just getting a chamfer in there, and if I extend it, it's going to extend that chamfer. And what I can do is I can also say Control A and hit scale on this thing, and it'll adjust it. Now notice that once we do this, you'll see that we are changing the whole scale of all the bevels. So I may have to actually go back into this modifier and hold the Shift key down and drag and just change this just a little bit back to where I want it. Here we go. So let's do this. This one over here only has one modifier to control it. This one is a different, even though it looks kind of the same, and it has one modifier, but it controls something a little bit differently, and you can kind of see how that works right there. And if you want to adjust it, you know, you can. I'm not recommending it, but if you tab into it, this bottom plane is selected. You can go to Item, and we can take this mean bevel weight for edges and just turn it completely off. And now we don't have those edges down at the bottom here. So that's how that works. So that's a basic understanding of the difference between the DM plus and the DM minuses. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the specific inserts in each one of these K-packs. So one thing you should know is that you will spend most of your time probably in the minus collection. You'll probably be in this K-pack. You'll spend most of the time actually using the different inserts here to do things. And so let's talk about these right off the bat. It's pretty self-explanatory what most of these are. Let me go ahead and talk about this slice one. We know what the cylinder is. We've already seen that in our DM solids. So let's go ahead and add this insert, and I can scale it around a little bit. And let's look at the modifiers for this. So first off, we have, of course, the segments. So I can make this as coarse or as fine as I want in terms of the faces, right? The bevel, the width percent, is just, we leave that. We want that to be a circle, so that's not an issue. The weld is going to make sure that we don't have any problems with the vertices doubling up here at each one of these quadrants. Because remember, this is 4 different bevels being applied to a square. The solidify is just going to give us how thick our cutter is going to be. So if I look at this, you can see that as I move this solidify thickness, I can make it thicker or thinner. I can go the opposite direction too, and I can also use this offset here to go the opposite direction as well. And if I put 0, it means it's going to actually put it 0.035 on either side of the line. And that's really it. And that's just something that, that's important to note. Now notice I'm moving it up, but you're not seeing it. But if you have to like cut all the way through, let's hide this, and we want to cut all the way through, I'll just take this and just extend it. And now we've cut all the way through and we're in good shape. You may wonder why all these cylinder 24, 32, 48, 64, these are when you know about what kind of resolution you're wanting, and in particular you want that little chamfer element. So let's go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. I'll take this 32 and I'll add this insert. It's going to actually create this hole but with a nice chamfer there, and it's at 32, so that's kind of nice. And of course, if I want to change the number of bevels on that, I can do that right here very simply. So, and all of these are pretty much the same that way. This is a very interesting one, the cylinder chamfer one. If we add this insert, and let's hit the F button to stick it in the middle of the face. So this is going to build it's a nice cut there. So let's see, take a look at it. So it puts a nice cut in there. And then I can add on top of that. In fact, I can go into the positives, and we have a positive one exactly the same. So if I select this object right here and say add insert, then I can just scroll and move this to be the same or different like this, and then I can actually go into the positive inserts and add a cylinder and have it there, and I can move it down a little bit. It's a Boolean, so it'll work fine there. So you can kind of start to see the kind of things that we can do very quickly. We've got a little bit of a knob, right? I can go into the positives again and grab, say, this rib with edges, add insert. Again, I have the face selected, so I can just scroll up. Now notice that I'm hitting right there. It's not taking very well. If I go to my Design Magic Metashape and select the original object and say set to exact, it's going to work. So there's a case where exact works and fast doesn't. I'm going to go back to fast, and I'm going to just actually scale this so that it fits, and then move it this way. So you get the idea. So that's kind of a, if you think of it, that could be like some kind of knob or something like that, right? Now another kind of an interesting cutter is this chamfer slope cutter. It's really pretty cool. So I can add this insert anywhere. I'm going to hit the N button so that I'm, anywhere I want, and then I'll just scale it. So I'm going to put it right about here. So that's allows me to create a nice chamfer on something. And if I turn on the bevel here, I'm going to get a very nice little bevel area on that. So that works really nice. And of course, because I'm in smart mode, I can just say mirror that about the X and Y, and I've got it all over here like this. Now let's say I want to just put a bevel on this side, like a chamfer or a bevel on that side. I can do that as well using Booleans, and I'll just come in here and I have this thing called Bevel Creator, and I'll add that insert, and I'll put it here, and I'm going to hold the Alt key down and rotate it, like this. So I can just set it right like this, move it up so that it's cutting, so that, let's go back in here. I'll move it all the way up so it just basically cuts like that. And then I'll just stretch it out like this. And now you can see I have that nice bevel on that side. And with that selected, I can mirror it about the X-axis, get one on the other side as well. So it's a real fast way of adding a quick bevel. And I can, if I want to, I can just select it. And instead of 8, let's give it 12 sides on there. So that works well. These parting line inserts are great, and here's one that's a mirrored one, and let's just go ahead and use that and show you how that works. I'm going to add that insert here. I'm going to rotate it and scale it while I'm still dragging. I'll hit the F key to hit it on the face, which is good. And now I'm just going to drag it down, and you can see I'm already cutting into it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to adjust this, and I'll just go into the, I'll just go into this, and I'm going to tab into it. And you'll see that, go into vertex mode, it's just these vertices are pretty much it. So I can just grab this, move them down, and say move this one over. I can go into my vertex bevel weight, make that a larger vertex, if I want to. I can come into this solidify and make it smaller so that it is actually just a little bit, give it a little tiny cut. I can stretch it out like this, and then I can just move it all the way through like that. And you can see what we have there. So that's a really fast way of creating a quick parting line. And of course, all of this is non-destructive, so that means I can go back and edit and move and reshape any of it at any given time. I'm going to grab this chamfer. With our object selected, I'm going to add this insert, and I'm going to hit the N key, and I'll rotate it around. And as you can see, as I'm dragging it in here, I've got a pretty nice chamfer. Now, there's another way I can center things if I want to. This is on the X-axis. I go in Item, X, and I hit 0, and you see that centers it. And so I can stretch this out if I want, and I can go into Kit Ops and mirror it about the Y-axis, and I got one over here. So you can see what that does. And again, with that selected, I have, the ability to change the radiuses on these corners right in here and the number of faces for those radiuses. I'm going to show you how I use this Subsurf 3. It's kind of an interesting object. So I'll select this, and I'll go into face mode again, put my face snap on, and I'll add this insert here, and I'll scroll it down. Let's mirror it on the Y, and then you can see what a nice surface that created for us very, very quickly. And I think you're starting to be able to see some of the power of Design Magic and how fast you can actually start to build things using the Design Magic inserts. So now I'm going to go into a couple other K-packs. This is the vent one, and I can just grab something like this vent right here, and with this selected, I can add the insert here, scale it up, mirror it about the X, put it on that side. So now we have some vents. And if I want to add some ribs, I can go over here and add the insert here, rotate them, and scale them up maybe a little bit, drag them down. And again, these are Boolean union objects, so they're part of the object. So if I go into here and look at this, you'll see that they're all part of it. And I can, of course, mirror it about the Y. So they're over here too. And then last, I've got some of these widgets, and these widgets are really kind of nice for just adding different kinds of extra details to things. I might come over here and add one over here and rotate it and mirror it about the X. So put one over there. Then I might just come and grab, let's do an Allen head bolt, and we'll put that, we'll put it, turn face mode off. I hit the N key. Let's stick it right here. So I'll put it there, and I'm going to mirror that about the Y and about the X. So I put a couple bolts there. And now that I've put those in, I can go ahead and add that again, and it's going to remember the same scale that I just used. So see, I can just come in here and, put them wherever I want to. Like if I want to stick one here, it's going to be the same scale. Move it over to something like that, and then just mirror X and Y. So really fast stuff, easy to work. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how all of these work together to help you create your product. Thanks for watching. See you online.